money it could otherwise be spent in promoting facilities which, you don't only eventually produce good footballers, but you get a more healthy nation. So for me, politics comes into everything.
It does.
What they're doing here very much, and the Scotland team are doing it, I think the United are doing it, Celtic are doing the same, is that they're picking the best players that they can see. I think it's somewhat 30 players each year they bring on stream, and they do this in the idea where they get plenty of training, plenty of football. I think they eat at Lennoxtown, and they're basically getting plenty of football drummed into them. But for me, the problem with that is, if you're picking the very best 30 players, if the players that you're choosing from, technique-wise, aren't that great to start with, then, do you know what I mean? You're already hamstrung from the start. Whereas for me, we need to try and find a way as a nation. We say we're mad about football, when there's no doubt we are, Scotland. That's self-evident. But to me, you need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to say, well, we need to move away from red ash pitches, which incredibly still exist in Scotland. We need to try and help young people, encourage them to play, make it cheap for them to do so. Because, ultimately for me, you could say, even if you... it's not just that, Jimmy. It's this idea, if you get more people playing, you might have less heart attacks. You might have less gang fights in the streets of Easterhouse or Coatbridge. Do you know what I mean? And those people might continue to play for the rest of their active lives. I played football 3 times a week up until I was 40, and there's loads of people still do that. So you can get a payback. You could end up that the people you do choose that move on to these elite programmes are actually better and, will succeed in the long run. And to me, that's the whole thing, is that somebody needs to have the balls to say, look, at a Scottish government level, we need to put some decent money in. But it then goes back to the whole...
Make it affordable.
Politics is all about choices, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for me, we need to start investing in sport, and very much in the Australian model, based on what you guys are saying. But, looking at the optimistic side, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we didn't have Lennoxtown. We weren't working with a good group of young players of every age group. We've probably got 3 or 4 groups of people now that are on stream working with us. And bearing in mind, it was probably the case that even 6 or 7 years ago, we might have had our best young players training an hour or 2 a week. So there's reason to believe that what Celtic are doing does increase our chances dramatically of getting better players that will come into the first team. And if Dyler succeeds and manages to get through this difficult first year, then he and the group of coaches round about him might be the very people that, 5 years from now, we could be looking at Champions League qualification and think, hang on, there's 4 players that come through that academy, and they're very, very capable. They can pass with speed. They can, they can take chances when they're there. Because for me, we don't have an alternative. We cannot afford, if you look at the prices now, to go and buy a striker. Skepovic probably is our upper limit. So I think we're stuck with this model, whether we like it or not. We need to find a way to make it work. And,
But it's an investment.
Hopefully, they say, necessity is the mother of invention. The very fact that we need to succeed could well mean that ultimately we will do.
Well, that's it. And if I can give you an analogy with a bad example in it, like, and without, I'm no bragging my case, but when I lived in Glasgow, I used to manage Parkhead Youth Project, and I drew this kind of this story and this plan up. If we can tackle gang fights on a Saturday night and drugs and alcohol, so I came up with this idea called the CAPTIS programme, which stood for Challenging Actual and Perceived Territorial Issues via Education and Sport, right? So we got £1,000, and we approached Newton Mearns Golf Club if they would do a golf teaching programme on a Saturday evening for 10 young boys. We took 5 young boys for one gang in Parkhead and another 5 for another gang. And we went there, and the guy that owned the guy was one of the managers in the golf club, also owned an Indian restaurant, who was a member of Rangers Football Club's board. After about 5 weeks when we spent the money, that guy actually funded the programme for another 2 years and gave the guys every Saturday night a full Indian buffet when they went there. So what we're saying there is, Jerry, it's not just about the sport itself, it's about like creating other, good citizens.
Yes.
And out of that came my mate, Boy Pearson. He devoted his time every Saturday night as a volunteer and drove the boys for 2 gangs all the way along there. There was a reduction in gang fights in Parkhead because it was the key members of the gangs. And B, one of the boys ended up, although it's not a great deal, but it is a great deal, ended up with a handicap and knew that young boy plays golf every Saturday and Sunday. And he's stoked, he's out of gang fighting and all that. So he may not become a professional golf player, but, who knows in the future years. So that kind of model about investing in young people, it doesn't matter whether they become a professional golfer or a professional football player, it's as long as they improve their life. And that's a political point of view, but I guess that.
Yeah. No, but it's true.
Right.
It's true.
Jimmy, I mean, it's spot on, because when you look at sport in general, Scotland's struggling golf-wise. I mean, one Scottish member in the Ryder Cup team, we haven't come close to, Paul Lawrie. Who else would you say in world golf terms? We're struggling there. And, apart from Andy Murray, can you think of a serious iconic figure that would be known in Australia in Scottish sporting terms? We don't. So I think you put the money in, Celtic might get the payback, sport in general might get the payback, and society gets the payback.
Right.
But, as I say, it's all about political choices. But I suppose
Big Monty's doing his bit in golf terms. He's got a trust that gives out grants. But fingers crossed, Jerry, we've got the Western Australian Open here this weekend in Carrion Golf Course, and Peter Whiteford is leading after the second day. So fingers crossed for the business. Craig Lee's involved in it as well.
You've got to see this. It's on the PGA Tour. It's the Perth Open.
This is the second season. That's pretty hot, by the way.
It's good. But every time they see it, every 2 minutes they put on big adverts about Western Australia. Come to Western Australia. It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
It's too fucking hot. Don't come.
No, it's beautiful. But anyway,
right. Celtic.
Guys, I'm going to try to wind it up, but I think that last conversation there, our football club is intrinsically linked with politics, whether we like it or not.
Yep.
But it is, it's a Celtic Football Club in my view, it's always been a club of the people, so therefore it's a socialist club. I think we've all got fairly socialist principles being Celtic fans on here. As we said at the last podcast as well, every single one of us on here right now, and we didn't organise it this way. We're all part of that. If some of us had a vote, Jerry, I know you were the only one that did, mate. But we were all one of the 45%ers, and I hope and pray to God that Scotland does become independent one of these days. I think it will, and I hope it will. And I hope all my family and my friends back there experience it, because it would mean an awful lot. But they do seriously need to take a look at how they manage a lot of their infrastructure over there. I don't think they've been helped by being governed by a British government. I think if it was a truly independent Scotland, things might have changed, but for all we say, and we slag the Scottish Football Association and all the rest of it, I think if there was proper investment in Scotland, and as you said earlier on, Jerry, the money, taxpayers' money, wasn't going on things like illegal nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction in the lochs and the lakes of the west of Scotland, then maybe Sport in Scotland could definitely be a little bit more improved than it is just now, and they could maybe put themselves on the map a little bit more as well. But guys, I'm going to try to wrap it up, and we've got a game against Killie on Sunday. Now, it's hard to know which Jekyll and Hyde Celtic team are going to turn up on Sunday. It's a home game again against Killie. Is it going to be the same team that turned up against Ross County in terms of attitude and ability and all the rest of it? Or is it going to be the same team that turned up against the Vauxhall Astra 11? Liam, I want your predictions for the game against Killie on Sunday, please, mate.
Killie are one of the teams that they're kind of like they used to say that Aberdeen only played well against the Huns. Sometimes I feel like Killie only play well against us.
They're above us in the league, Liam.
I know. I'll go for a 1-0 victory, but it'll be a piss poor, boring game.
Who's going to score, Liam?
Guidetti.
Oh, because he's back in again. He's back in. James Emalke.
4-0 Celtic.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Hope you're right.
Right, Liam led us in there. He gave a little bit of analysis and all the rest of it. You're just going...
I just know instinctively. Wasn't he far off last week?
You weren't, mate.
You know, wasn't he far off last night at half time? I thought we'll score a goal.
The point I was making is we've had the Jekyll and the Hyde here.
Yep.
In the last week, right?
And I'm basing my prediction on my early analysis of what's happening right now at Celtic Football Club. From a psychological point of view, players may have been afraid last night. They got in there, played shit and still won, so the belief will grow that we are a good team. We can pull this off. We can work the system.
All right. Okay.
So they go out there on Sunday with a renewed confidence, a renewed belief as well, and they say, okay, let's go out and do it, and the proof's in the pudding.
4-0, you say?
4-0,
Goal scorers?
Skepticalovich.
Because
we spoke with a guy earlier on, right? And I got confused because I couldn't remember if it was last night or against Ross County when Stokes crossed the ball and he wasn't even interested. He was looking to go for it, then backed off, and I thought he'll not make it. But then when I watched him last night, I thought the guy we were talking earlier on, saying that he thinks that he can just turn up at Celtic Park and score diddy goals against the teams. But I reckon if I've known football players from a managerial point of view in an amateur sense as well for years and years and years. I think if that guy is what he thinks he is, and we're saying he's an arrogant so-and-so, a couple of goals last night, he'd have just nodded them in the net and that's it, just to try and get himself sold. I think the guy could be genuine, is genuine, and I think he'll score the first goal against Kilmarnock.
Fair enough.
Possibly too. Skepticalovich.
And your other 3 goal scorers or 2 goal scorers?
Let's see them. I'll give you. I think Guidetti will score. I think he's on a high. I think he's with Talisman, and he's the next folk hero, as Pat's saying. So, and you know what? I'll let McGrew score another goal because I agree earlier on. Who was it? Was it Andy?
Alistair.
Yeah. That McGrew. I've got a lot of time for Charlie McGrew in certain situations, i.e. Scottish football, but in Europe he's not got the mobility. So I think, to give him his due and give him a wee bit of more confidence, he'll chip in with a free kick.
Patrick Close, the housewife's favourite.
Well, I was a bit split. I think we don't seem to be playing well after European games in recent times. So part of me was thinking whether Killie sneak a draw or something like that. But I'm going to try and be positive. I'm going to say a 3-1 win. And Guidetti's going to get 1.
Yeah.
And it was probably Stokes.
Yeah.
Here's a smoky for a late goal. Berham Kyle. There you go.
Nice. A rasper from midfield.
We should take notes of these predictions and just keep it going.
We should do.
They should. I hope somebody's scribbling these down.
I was actually going to say.
Sometimes we're close.
I was going to say Berget for a laugh, just for a bit